my friend Elvis would approve of. Jimmy Deal.
Kay Wheeler, nice to have you on the show. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a while since we spoke with you, and it's welcome back to Celebrity Spotlight. I hope you had a great Mother's Day.
I really did. The best.
And you've had such a
great
yeah, and you had such a spectacular life. Of course, life changed for you in April of 1956. Was it San Antonio, Texas, is where that happened?
Well, that's when I first met Elvis in San Antonio. Of course, that was a life changer, I'll have to admit. At 16, being right there in the private dressing room, just the two of us, I mean, you don't get open things like that. I immediately knew I was in trouble because I saw how cute he was. And I thought, oh, wow, he can't be that cute. None of the pictures had done him any real justice. And I was more or less, the song, all I could do was stand there paralyzed. And I'm a really strong girl. I was always been a strong person. Mm-hmm. But I have to say that I was overwhelmed when I was around him. It was almost like surreal. It was almost like I wasn't there.
Right. Tell us about walking into that dressing room and he's sitting in the chair, right? And you pretty much introduce yourself. Tell us about that.
Well, Colonel Parker, the one thing nice that he did was that he did line up for me to go to meet Elvis in San Antonio. And I lived in Dallas, and I was the only fan club. Mm-hmm. He said, I had got started with a fan club, and I had written the office of, Bob Neal and said, give me some cards. Got all these people, send a picture of all these people who have joined Elvis's fan club. It happened through radio. Right. And so I get a letter back, like a little while later saying from Colonel Parker's office. Mm-hmm. And from his secretary, Carolyn Asmus. And he says, Colonel Parker we have no fan club facilities for Elvis. He is just one of our minor attractions. June Carter and Hank Snow and they were just adding Elvis to it. And the Colonel told you to do anything you wanted to do regarding a fan club. Right. Well, I didn't know anything about a fan club. But anyway, I was the one and only, as far as they were concerned. I'm sure there might have been other little smaller, I don't know what was going on, but I had thousands and thousands that had come in from this radio program that had announced my name and address over the air. Right. And so Parker said, she says, I wrote back, I said, oh, yeah, I would love to meet him. And she said, well, he's going to send you a telegram that's going to allow you to get inside. So, I'm the 16-year-old kid. I'm thinking, and San Antonio is like over 150 miles or 180 miles from Dallas. And I'm thinking, how am I going to get there? But, I'll figure it out. I grew up in San Antonio, so I had some friends there that I could stay with. So, I get on my spike heels and get on a Greyhound bus by myself and travel down to San Antonio, Texas to see the young Elvis, the early Elvis, the 1956 Elvis, the real Elvis. Right. And so, I get this telegram, and I love the telegram because when I went to the stage door and showed the telegram, it was like, open no sesame. It was like, all of a sudden, all the doors opened, and Tom Diskin, who was the road manager, comes and says, oh, it's like, wow, okay, they know who I am. And so they take me, and he says, well, Elvis is in that room, just go right on in. Right. I thought to myself, I'm not going to be able to just go right. I looked at this, and I said, just go right on in. And he said, yeah, go on in. So, wow, I turned the door, and he's in there by himself, looking in the mirror, doing his hair thing. And I walk in there, and I just stand there, frozen. And he whirls around, and the door shuts. It's just the two of us. He whirls around, and he walks up to me. And I say, I'm Elvis. I'm your fan club president, Elvis. and he said, my fan club president? It was like he almost didn't know he had a fan club. And I don't know that he did. And he said, wow. And then he kind of started getting personal and started looking me up and down and, Elvis does. And he said, oh, is this all you, baby? And I go, yes. And I'm about to freak out. Meanwhile, I'm just frozen. You know,
right.
I can't enjoy the moment because I'm just too flipped out for the moment.
Right.
And so, you know, he starts, you know, kissy huggy and, you know, talking with me and all that. And he said, well, what do you want me to do? I thought he was so sweet. And when I hear him sing that song, Baby, What You Want Me to Do on the 68 comeback special, I always go, wow. I remember when he said to me, well, tell me what you want me to do. That's a loaded question, isn't it?
Yeah.
but then, you know, for me at that time, I was just a kid, so I wasn't really, you know, catching up on anything.
Right.
So I said, oh, please sign these autographs, you know. So we had some real quiet time together, and then finally the press came through the door, and he held me through the whole press conference.
Wow.
And yeah, and that's where all some of those great pictures, you know, that we got.
Right.
And but actually, those were taken with my little brownie camera that just somebody standing was taking pictures for me. So, you know, actually, the kid I was staying with, I took her where I said, if you take the pictures, if you come with me, take some pictures. She didn't like Elvis.
Really?
And I said, oh, you got to come, and I need some pictures, you know. And so I said, so get some shots. So she did. And then I got some shots, too, of Elvis. I got some great pictures for a tiny little brownie camera, you know, like what? $10 or something.
Right.
Like, they're beautiful. And I'm sure you've seen some of them on the internet. So, you know, we just had a great time. And there was going to be a second show. And so he said, come on, and he's going to play the organ. He found an organ backstage.
Uh-huh.
And he sat down and played the organ and started singing.
Really?
A private concert. How good is that?
Can't beat that. That's for sure.
And you can't beat that.
No way.
And, you know, he sang Harbor Lights, and, you know, and then other people started mingling in, but we had that time together. So we had, you know, and I said, Elvis, when are you coming to Dallas? He said, oh, we can't do Dallas. The Colonel says that's too big. I said, what are you talking about? That's where your big fan club is.
Right.
And he said, well, we've booked for Fort Worth, and Colonel can't get Dallas. And I said, really? We'll see about that. Wow. I did have a radio station behind me, radio station KLIF. I thought, wow.
That's all you need.
I'll talk to them. Yeah.
Right.
And so Elvis said, I want to see you in Fort Worth. I am going to be at Fort Worth. He had another Fort Worth date before.
Right.
Fort Worth was later in the year in October, and we were in April. This was April 15th, 1956.
Right.
And so I said, well, we'll see about Dallas. And so, you know, that was my first meeting with him, boy. That was, I thought, well, I was totally devastated because I knew that he was totally public domain and he would never be anybody's private property.
Right.
And I think that remains to be true.
A lot of people say he was quiet and shy. Did you have that take with him at all, or when he was young?
I don't know which Elvis they ever met, but the one I met was I'm a steamroller baby and I'm going to roll all over you. I don't know what anybody is saying.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you look at him on stage, this is not a shy guy.
Exactly.
I mean, this guy is doing like things that we've never seen before. In fact, I think his dancing. I mean, you know, Roy Orbison had a great voice. He was a rockabilly. I mean, there was some good music out there.
Right.
As good as Elvis's music, of course, is.
Right.
The thing that was the standout for him, other than being the cutest guy ever,
right, was
his dancing. And, you know, rock and roll dancing. He was expressing rock and roll in dance
right,
while he was singing. And this was what was unique. You know, nobody had ever seen this kind of thing before. And that's why, you know, the Elvis, the pelvis, and why the adults went crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like what he's doing, bumping and grinding on stage like a stripper. You know, there was all this talk. It was horrible. But I like it because I'm a rock and roll dancer, and I'm just wondering that if Elvis had not danced like that,
right,
would he have been a sensation on the level that he was as far as just his launch? You know, when he first came out as a performer.
Right.
So, that's kind of food for thought. I like the rock and roll dancing. I think Elvis's dancing was the mind blower for everybody. And the girls went crazy. And even in the Elvis movie, the new one, they had him shaking, and they're showing how that shaking and the dancing was the thing that made the girls scream.
Right.
Not just singing. If he just got up there deadpan-handed like Ricky Nelson,
right.
Ricky Nelson, he's like, that guy's frozen.
Right.
He sings very nice, and he's very good looking.
Mm-hmm.
But he never had the emotion in the dancing that Elvis had.
Right. Elvis had that charisma.
I'm just analyzing that as I look back on it.
Right.
I think it was his dancing.
That really made the excitement and the girls scream. And I heard it was very hard to hear his music because the girls were screaming so loud, right?
Oh, you couldn't hear him at all. I was there in Shreveport.
Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, I want to go real back to the Dallas thing. So I come back to the radio station KLF, which my aunt worked there. She was like the assistant person to the owner of the station. And she was really running the show. And I said, how can we ever get Elvis coming to Dallas? And she said, maybe if you got all your fan club members to write in, to the radio station and ask for Elvis to come to Dallas, maybe if there's thousands of them, we might look at it.
Right.
So I said, oh, okay, well, right away. It was like nothing was going to stop me.
Of course.
And so, of course not. And so, we got a big write-in thing going on.
Uh-huh.
And then KLIF, it was so big that they said, well, we don't have a venue. Where can we put him? And so they decided that the only thing that would hold the amount of inquiries and people that were interested was to book a Cotton Bowl, which is like the Rose Bowl.
Right.
It's a big, huge football stadium that holds 75,000 people.
Right.
In Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So they partnered with the State Fair of Texas. They got a hold of the State Fair of Texas, and they joined up with a radio station, KLIF,
right,
and put Elvis in the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, wow.
And so, it was the first stadium rock concert ever done.
Amazing.
And it was the largest ticket paid that Elvis had, as far as tickets, not a freebie concerts or, fairground to concerts. It was a paid ticket concert, I think, for like 15 years until it was the largest venue he ever had.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't realize all these details till this magazine in England called Vintage Rock story. They were fascinated with the idea that it was the first stadium rock concert ever done, and nobody really ever talked about it, and that it was organized by a fan, by me, as opposed to Colonel Parker.
Right.
I like that part. That was his biggest deal in the 50s.
Right. And how was it dealing with Colonel Parker? I know it wasn't easy, right? I mean,
he didn't like me.
I know, because he couldn't control you.
Absolutely. No, he didn't like me at all. I was a danger.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I designed the first Elvis Presley medallion in history. And, some company came to me and said, what kind of medallion would you do for Elvis? I didn't get any money for it or anything. I never got any money for anything.
Wow.
That's okay. That's okay.
Well, you got to meet Elvis. How cool was that?
That's cool. What an influence, what an impact on your life.
How did you deal with 60,000 members? And you were just a teenager. How did you deal with all that?
I was acting like I'd been doing this for my whole life. I mean, it was amazing. I just designed the fan club card, this Presley pink, and, got to the printer. And I've still got the receipts for the first 1,000 that were printed when we first started. And I didn't have any money. My dad was against it all. My mother was for it.
Right.
So I had to just save up my allowance, and I worked in the summer at the YMCA, helping, the football thing going on there for the coach there to make enough money to pay for the cards and stuff like that. So I paid my dues here over the years.
Now, your mom was an Elvis fan too, right? Your mom was a big Elvis fan, and didn't she paint a beautiful picture, right?
absolutely. It's hanging in Graceland today. You know, if my mother hadn't have been cool, I would have been all washed up because parents really didn't like this. At the beginning of Elvis, there was a huge amount of persecution and like, oh, are you representing that guy? Elvis, oh, he's vulgar. You know, it's like at school, I was like an outcast for the teachers. There were few cool kids, but not enough. And, you know, I brought some Elvis pictures that I got from San Antonio.
Right.
And I brought them to school. And the guy on the grounds, school ground, high school, pushed me, grabbed me, roughed me up, grabbed the pictures out of my hand.
Oh, my God. Really? Wow.
Pushed me down and ripped them to pieces.
Wow. Were those signed pictures? Did he sign those pictures?
Yes, they were signed.
Oh, wow. Wow, crazy.
I managed to pick up some of the pieces and I've taped them and I've still got but talk about a scene for the movie. And, you know, we didn't really get how much, there was a little bit of the persecution in that Elvis movie. But, you know, the thing about it, told through the eyes of Colonel Parker, who was his executioner and probably one of his worst enemies.
Right.
That didn't sit really that great with me,
even
though I'm so happy the movie was made because it introduced a whole new generation to Elvis. I get that 100,000%.
Exactly. I
think that the way the Presley family was represented was not exactly like I saw them in 1956, visiting with his mother and his dad.
Right.
I thought that was a little rough.
Yeah.
And that would have hurt Elvis.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, it was a try and it was glitzy. And, you know, there was a lot of creative license there, and I understand that.
Right.
But, you know, I still think that the real true story of Elvis, especially the early Elvis, the real Elvis, has never been put on the screen. Right. And I think it's going to have to come from the people that loved him, that helped making what he is, from the prism, I think, of his fandom, which is what's keeping the whole memory of Elvis alive today. I think that film has yet to be made, and maybe that guy will do it as a follow-up film. I don't know. Yeah. But I've got a screenplay, and I'm out there pitching it right now called Elvis, Rebel of My Heart.
Oh, sounds great.
Yeah, because he was the rebel in the beginning. What happened after all that, it's just totally 1,000% unacceptable to me as a person.
Right.
And I think to his true fans as well. You know, we don't like the ending.
Of course. Tell me about Elvis's mom. I mean, you not many people met Gladys, but you did, and you spent some private time with her. Tell us about that.
I spent most of the day with her.
Wow. Tell us about that.
I had to go to Memphis I was doing a photo shoot for 16 magazine, and they wanted me to come up there and do a photo shoot with Barbara Hearn, which was a girlfriend of Elvis at the time. And she's a wonderful person, by the way, and still a friend, and dazzlingly beautiful.
Right.
And so, at any rate, somehow or another, we actually got through the shoot and everything. I said, you know, I'd really like to meet Elvis's mother. I'd like to go over to their house, you know.
Right.
And the guy said, okay, we can fix that up for you. I'll just give a call and you just go on over there. So I jumped in a taxi cab and went over there, and Gladys Presley opens the front door. And of course, she was, you know, the fan club president back then. There wasn't dozens of fan club or thousands of fan clubs. So I was like treated nice, you know, I was given special attention.
Right.
And because I was the only one of any known stature, I'm going to qualify that.
Right.
And so she opened the door, and she was like the sweetest lady, and they just treated me like she was my mother.
Wow.
Oh, come on in, you know. Oh, yeah. She took me through the whole house, through Elvis's closets, his clothes, his room, every single thing.
He was on tour, right? He was not there.
Yeah, he was on tour.
Okay.
But that was really kind of better because I'd already met him.
Right.
And just gave me an opportunity to have some quiet, special time with her. And she talked and talked and talked. and was like the loveliest lady, but she didn't seem 100% happy.
Really?
No, she wasn't. She seemed real worried about her son.
Well, it was
and,
so many changes going on at that time. They came from rags to riches, and there's big changes with all the money and everything. So I guess that was just a lot for her.
It was, and I think that she was like thought something might happen bad to him. I think there was like because she talked to me about. She even talked about the drug thing.
Really?
She said they're saying he takes drugs. He doesn't take drugs.
Wow.
When she looked at me, and I said, "Oh, of course not."
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anything.
Right, of course.
And I was just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a kid. But she was just real sweet, and said, "Here's Elvis." I wanted the green coat because Elvis had promised me the Cotton Bowl. This was in November of 1956, and the Cotton Bowl happened in October.
Right.
So he had promised me his green. He wore the green coat. He had a billiard table green jacket that he wore in the Cotton Bowl, and I said, "I love that green jacket." And at the press conference, he said, "Honey, you'll probably have it before the night's over." Elvis. He was still a pretty wild and woolly. Shy? Well, I don't think so. And if you watch him dance on stage, he's like the most unshy person that the world has ever witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about letting it all go.
Right.
And dancing like even no one is watching, even though we were all watching.
Mm-hmm.
He would let himself go.
Right.
And so I said, "Oh, Elvis said I could have his green coat."
Right.
And she said, "Let me go get it."
Oh,
so
wow.
she goes right to the closet. I can't wait. I thought, I'm going to get the green coat. So she goes to the closet, and she said, "I've looked at every single thing. He must have it with him on tour."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so then she comes out. She said, "But wait a minute." She gets these white buck shoes, which are, his famous white buck shoes that he danced in the Cotton Bowl that he used. And they're now in Graceland under glass,
Right.
And she said, "You take these shoes instead." How sweet was that, huh?
That was great.
And I looked at the shoes and I thought, those look really dirty. Where am I going to put those in my suitcase? I mean, I'm 16.
Right.
I'm not really thinking on my feet here.
Of course.
They're probably worth, $500,000 right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
But anyway, I said, I walked around with them for a while in the house, and then, before I left, I said, "Oh, by the way, you can just keep these. That's all right. I'll wait for the green coat," or something like that. I handed it back to her. So they're all on display in Graceland.
Oh,
But
wow.
anyway, I went out there and played around with his motorcycle and his Lincoln Continental. I got on top of it, got a picture of me sitting on the hood.
Nice.
Of course, I'm going to climb on top of his car, right?
Yeah. Now, this was not Graceland. This was the house on Audubon Drive, right?
Audubon Drive, 1034 Audubon Drive. It was really the first house that he bought for his parents after they made his first money.
Right.
It was a nice, in a nice upscale neighborhood. It was a ranch style home, long,
mm-hmm.
and and they had put in a swimming pool, and Vernon was going crazy with the swimming pool because there was a crack in it, and all the workmen were there, and he was preoccupied.
Right.
I just said hi, bye, but I had a lot of time with her, and she was like super, super, super nice, and so I was there several hours.
Really? And wasn't a picture of yourself in his bedroom?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I don't know whether she did it. I don't think she would have time to frame a picture. A lot of people say, well, they put your picture out there just because they knew you were coming. This was a spontaneous thing. It wasn't something we had set up for weeks or even days.
Right.
It was just, it happened within hours. And in his bedroom, there was a picture of me framed on the night table.
Mm-hmm.
I freaked out. I thought, yeah, okay.
Right.
And I said, take her picture. And I sat down in the chair by it and holding their little doggie there. Sweet Pea was her little tiny dog she had.
Right.
And I got a picture of me with that picture there. And so I thought, well, I'm more popular than I know.
Wow. So Elvis was very fond of you.
I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'm the girl he shouldn't have. Yeah.
Amazing.
I guess that's a standout in itself, right?
Right. Tell us what happened when he did a show in Waco. And I know you made a statement, right, that did not
This
approve.
is my favorite scene in the movie. This is my favorite scene in the movie.
The Colonel was not approved of what you said.
He went crazy.
He did.
Colonel Parker went crazy because so we just done the Cotton Bowl. There was 26,500 people there, and the kids were screaming. In fact, it was so huge. I mean, it was like the talk of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we go. Waco's the next day.
Right.
Next night. So October 11th was Dallas, and Waco was October 12th.
Right.
So we go to Waco, and so Waco is got the top Southern Baptist Convention College there. They're very conservative,
Mm-hmm.
and remember that the Elvis thing was like causing lots of controversy with a lot of people. The dancing, what they call the vulgarity factor.
Right.
And so apparently it was just a sparse show up. There was just hardly anybody there. I mean, it was small. It wasn't even close to being filled.
Right.
Might have had 3,000 people there, maybe. And the girls, when he would sing and did his whole show, nobody did anything. They all just, sat on their hands.
Really?
Which
wow.
I thought, and everybody, the screaming at the Cotton Bowl, the reporters wrote it up in the paper that it was like an earthquake that would break the Richter scale.
Mm-hmm.
The sound. And so I'm furious. I'm thinking, what is going on here? What's happening? He's the hottest thing in show business. And look at Dallas the night before. What's going on here in Waco?
Right.
And so, all these people were protesting and up and down the street, in front. And so at the press conference, I said, well, I can't imagine why they're not reacting to Elvis.
Right.
This has got to be the squarest town in America, And so he was an Associated Press reporter. And so it hit he wrote the article that says Elvis had mad at Waco for being the squarest town in America.
Wow.
And it went coast to coast in every newspaper. It was the whole article. Well, he'd interviewed me, but I didn't realize I thought he was, a local newspaper or something.
Right.
And so anyway, Colonel Parker went crazy because I was out of his control. And he said, she can't say that. So he has Tom Diskin, the right-hand guy,
Right.
to try to get me to apologize to Waco. And of course, I'm not. This is one girl against a whole town. Okay.
Right.
I love these scenes. And I said, well, he brought an Elvis shirt. I said, the Colonel wants you to have this, and please apologize in the newspaper to a written apology to Waco about saying that.
Right.
And of course, I said, I won't do it. I took the shirt anyway.
Yeah.
I told Tom Diskin. I said, no, I don't know. I'll think about it. But they made a special trip and had Diskin flown to Dallas from Tennessee. They were already back to try to corral me. And of course, that didn't work.
Amazing. So you really ruffled the Colonel's feathers there for a while.
Oh, yeah. And then when I designed the Elvis medallion, and it was advertised in the teen magazines and were selling it, he went crazy because he's a merchandising guy, know. And he sent one of his goons. I was in Hollywood as the editor of Hip Cats and Cool magazine there.
Right.
On Sunset Boulevard. He sent one of his goons over there to my office to threaten me to never design any kind of Elvis merchandise or do anything without him. Right. It was almost like a big bullying thing. And I'm just looking at this guy like, what? That's, I guess I angered him. And, and not only that, Parker sent out a letter banning me. Oh, I love being banned by John Parker. What a great honor. Right. At the time, I didn't really know about this until his secretary's son showed me a letter that after I'd done the medallion thing, And I also changed my fan club to Forever Elvis.
Right.
This was in 1957, before anybody knew he was going to be forever. How about that?
Oh, wow.
I called it the Forever Elvis Fan Club.
You called it.
Yeah. I've got a card and everything.
Well, do you still have a lot of those cards? You still have a lot of the fan club?
I have so much stuff now that it gives me nightmares figuring out how to organize it and get it where somebody can appreciate it or display it.
Wow.
I really got to, get it up there on the auction block, or
right.
Maybe Graceland will want to see it.
Oh, sure.
Most of it is just original stuff, unique. There's not another one like it.
Do you have a lot of any of his personal artifacts? I know you said you probably have that shirt that the Colonel gave you.
Oh no, I wore that shirt with my blue jeans until it just wore out.
Really?
You can believe such a craziness.
Wow.
We were not thinking about this is going to be worth big money someday.
Right. Nobody knew that he was going to become the superstar that he became.
Right, and I never thought that way anyway.
Of course.
I was never a mercenary.
Yeah. You were a pretty good dancer yourself, of course. Tell us about the movie that you were in. Of course, Elvis had nothing to do with you getting into that movie. Tell us about the movie and your dancing, which was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was just, it was called Rock Baby Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
And, basically I did dance at a Johnny Carroll concert at the Majestic Theater in 1956 early. And after I danced in the aisle, and all the kids got to the side, and the guy put a spotlight on me, and they were showing Rock Around the Clock, and they had the rockabilly band playing in between.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy comes up to me after, this crazy looking guy, and says, we're going to be making a movie here in Dallas about rock and roll. Would you like to be in it? We would like you to do that dance in the movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he was like this old guy.
Right.
And he was probably 35, but to me, he was ancient.
Right. And
he said, okay, we'll do this, movie, and here's my card.
Mm-hmm.
And, he kind of looked scary looking, and everything. But when I got home, I said, Mom, this guy came up to me, gave me this card. He said, they're making a movie here, and they want me to do my dance.
Nice.
I said, I don't believe any of it. I didn't believe any of it. I thought it was just a hoax. So, my mother, being the mother she is, and not too long after that, there was a notice in the paper of rock and roll movie to be filmed in Dallas.
Right.
And she said, hey, this is the same people that are selling your card.
Mm-hmm.
It was Top 10 Music Company or Productions or something like that.
Right.
So she said, you ought to call them. So I did. And I went over there, and there it was, they were rehearsing Johnny Carroll. And then when they found out I had a big Elvis fan club, they thought, well, that's good. We'll put a little bit in the movie about that.
Right.
And maybe they helped me get a bigger part. I don't know,
Right.
Everything works together. So that's that story. And then after that movie got made, American International Films in Hollywood offered me a movie contract.
Uh-huh.
And we made Hot Rod Gang with Gene Vincent.
Yeah, tell us about Gene Vincent. I know you spent some time with Gene, right? Tell us, he was a great guy.
I spent more time with Gene as far as him coming to my house and everything than I ever did with Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
If Gene Vincent had been Elvis, I'd have been a happy lady. But, Gene Vincent was a great, great talent, and put on one of the best concerts live that you've ever heard, him and the Blue Caps.
Right.
And that was a highlight, and it was great to be with Gene in Hollywood, and he's just a super, super nice person, as was all of the Blue Caps. Dickie Harrell and Bubba Facinda was a clapper boy. Right. And, they would come to my house and we would party. They would drive down from Virginia. Right. Wow. Yeah.
And Gene Vincent, he was a great guy, right? And he sounded a lot like Elvis, didn't he?
Well, Elvis's mother thought when she heard Bebop-A-Lula on the radio, she thought it was Elvis.
She thought it was Elvis. Wow.
She thought it was Elvis.
Yeah, a lot of those guys who started back in that time had that similar sound, or they tried to sound like him, or wanted to sound like him, or some of them just did.
Well, Gene Vincent had a crazily great voice like Roy Orbison. I mean, he wasn't probably great. It was different than Roy Orbison.
Right.
But he was a singer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing secondary about Gene Vincent except that he didn't dance.
Right.
I'm back to that one.
Wow. So did all those moves come natural to you? Did you take dancing, or did you just watch Elvis? How did all your dance moves come about?
No. I originated all that myself. Just dancing the bop. It was we teenagers were dancing to black rock and roll before Elvis or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We had discovered, Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, Big Joe Turner, and all those guys.
Right.
And we were dancing to rock and roll before Elvis came along.
Really? Wow. That's amazing. And also, you got to attend the premiere of Jailhouse Rock, right? And Elvis was there. Tell us about how that came about for you.
Well, I was in Hollywood, and of course, because of my connections with Elvis,
mm-hmm.
I was able to get into the press. It was a press showing for the press of Jailhouse Rock. It wasn't the premiere of the movie. It was for the press to view the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I went there, with a friend that had tickets. She had 2 tickets.
Wow.
And Judy Spreckles was a friend of Elvis.
Right.
And she had 2 tickets. She said, "I want you to come with me."
Oh, that's great.
I said, "Well, sure." And so we were sitting in the kind of the back, but there wasn't a lot of guys there. I mean, there was 60 people maybe.
Wow, small guy.
So when he walked in the door and he saw me sitting in the back of the room, he was so shocked because the last time he had seen me in Shreveport, we took a Louisiana hayride in '56.
Right.
When I walked out of his hotel room in a huff, and I was mad. So anyway, that's another whole story. That's a good scene in the movie too, by the way.
That sounds like a cool story. You have to tell us that story.
Right. There's a Peacock. It's streaming on Peacock right now. The Women Loving Elvis right now. And I'm in it. There's a pretty good long segment film of me in it, and along with Barbara Hearn, and it's a 3-part series. Wow. I'm in the first part. And it's streaming right now on Peacock if you stream TV.
Oh, that's great.
You can see it. I cover a little bit about the Shreveport thing.
Amazing. Well, I hope that movie comes out. I hope that the screenplay gets around Hollywood.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Well, it's all out there.
Yeah.
But, it's all big money and all connections, and I don't have any of that, so it'll be a miracle. So, at any rate, so he walks into the press conference, right?
Uh-huh.
And everybody's all sitting there, and I'm sitting in the back with Judy. And he screams across the room like he just saw his long lost whatever.
Mm-hmm.
"Is that you, Kay?" Everybody was waiting for him to say something. And he walks in and he looks around the room, and that's what he screams. That's the first thing. He didn't say, "Hi, everybody,"
right,
or anything like that. He screamed it across the room. I said, "Yeah, this is me," and I waved back, and that was our last words.
Wow.
That was the last time I was with him. Yeah.
Did you ever contact him at all in the later years, or not really?
Well, I got blackballed by Colonel Parker. See, I didn't realize flipping back to that story.
Mm-hmm.
When I did the medallion and all that, and did the Forever Elvis, and and I didn't know this, but he sent out a letter to every fan club president.
Mm-hmm.
By then there were lots of them.
Right.
And kind of banned me. Said, "Don't have any dealings with Kay Wheeler."
Really? Wow.
They thought I was going to sell them a medallion or something, that I was merchandising.
Right. Nobody can make money except Colonel Parker, of course, on Elvis.
Absolutely. And I didn't have anything to do with the money or the merchandising. All I did was design the medallion. Nobody gave me any money.
Right.
And so I didn't realize that had happened until the son of his secretary, of Parker's secretary at the time, contacted me and said, "Did you know that Colonel Parker banned you to the other fan club president?" I said, "No."
Crazy.
I didn't find this out till I was an old lady.
Wow. That's amazing.
I didn't know that. Yeah, because things happen on the internet. People can contact you and everything.
Right.
And all of a sudden, wow.
Yeah.
I got banned by Parker. Man, what a compliment. I feel so happy about that.
Yeah.
But back then, I'd have probably been upset, you know.
Oh, I'm sure. Have you visited Graceland since it's been open to the public at all?
You know, I haven't.
Really? Wow.
I'm not the type that's going to upset me.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I want. I've seen all the pictures and I've done all the video tours and all that.
Right, right.
But you know, I'm real busy. I'm in real estate. You know, I have 2 kids, and
Yeah.
so I'm in California.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of time off or anything, but you know, maybe one day.
Right.
But
I'm going
to get upset. I'm going to get upset.
I would imagine.
I already know I'm going to get upset.
Yeah. Going back to the movie, what do you think of Austin Butler as Elvis and Tom Hanks as the Colonel?
I didn't like the casting.
You didn't like the casting at all? Okay.
I didn't like the cast. Nobody asked me. But you know, no, I think the Colonel talked Southern. He's real Southern. He wouldn't talk like a German or somebody from the Netherlands.
Right.
You know, I thought, why did they do that? Because that, you know, one thing about the Elvis fans, they like authenticity. You know, we don't want anything phony. You don't have to gild the lily with Elvis Presley. He was enough.
Right.
And, you know, you don't need to add anything. And it seemed like, why would they do that? Oh, is this a statement against illegal immigrants? You know, okay.
Yeah.
We get that. I just thought it was a little off the wall, but I guess it's their creative license.
Yeah.
I didn't like the mother cussing and picturing her as drinking like that.
Yeah, so that was nothing like Gladys. I mean, you knew Gladys, and that was nothing like her, right?
I mean, I don't know what happened, you know, 20 years later.
Right.
15 years later. But I know this. There was no drinking, no alcohol smell in the house, nothing at all. And I was raised around drinking dad. So I'm not, he's a Marine Corps sergeant. So I know about the drinking.
Yeah.
And there was no smell of alcohol. There was nothing in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were very Christian people.
Right.
And it could be that Elvis, with that upbringing, and then what the world was bringing to him, there was some you know, conflicted feelings there.
Of course.
And I think that's why he always includes something about the gospel. I mean, what other big artists always would sing "How Great Thou Art" and all that.
Right.
They include that as a main song in the performance.
Yeah.
So I think there was always that undercurrent of his upbringing.
Yeah.
And so I think that affected his performance, and I think there may have been some in that and causing the confusion and what happened in the rest of his life.
Yeah.
I can't speculate. I don't really know. I don't want to, but
right.
I just know that there was a contradiction between what happened and how he was brought up.
Right.
That there's no arguing with that.
Yeah. But I mean, every time you were with him, he seemed like a happy guy, happy, fun guy to be around, right?
We were the happiest. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the early Elvis.
Yep.
And I think that once he got pressed into the mechanics of the fame and the success, and all of that, and all the pressures of that, and all the temptations of that,
right?
Every girl in the world, okay.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, who's going to be able to stand up against all of that? This is a little kid from, Tupelo, Mississippi, and Memphis, Tennessee, but in the beginning, he was like a rockabilly rebel. I mean, he was like, he wasn't caring what the press thought of him. I mean, he was holding me when they asked him if he was ever going to get married. Right. And he said, well, why buy a cow when you can milk it through a fence? I mean, that's a pretty risque statement.
That is, absolutely.
And he was just throwing stuff out like that. He was saying what he wanted to say. Right. He wasn't like, pressed into the mechanics of you can't say this and, walk that chalk line and you can't move this way, Yeah. So this was when he was like, the real Elvis. Right. When the Elvis we never after I would say after the Jailhouse Rock and after 1957, he got swept up into all of it.
Right.
And, you know, we got a glimpse of the real Elvis in the 68 special. Thank goodness.
Right.
Somebody knew to bring the real Elvis out there.
That was Steve Binder, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve
Binder. He gets the ultimate credit for that. And, but that's what brought Elvis back. And that's what made Elvis still great, you know, and even to this moment. I'm just not the huge fan of the Las Vegas Elvis, even though I love the Las Vegas Elvis.
Right.
Anything Elvis is good, okay? Let's be clear.
Of course,
the Elvis movie was great just to see the whole presentation.
Right.
And the fans feel that way.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, the what I call was the unvarnished Elvis, the Rockabilly Rebel, the Memphis Flash, the exciting Elvis that broke into the world at that time. Right. That's never been portrayed on screen.
Of course.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, tell us about your autobiography, The Memphis Flash. Tell us about that.
Well, it's just a story, you know, just my story.
Your story.
My life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how Elvis is just intertwined with it. Mm-hmm. Not the whole book is about my life. It's not just Elvis, but there was the growing up with the Memphis Flash,
right? And
how it affected me, and the stories. Everything is right there. You know, it's been out of print for years. You can't buy one now. You have to pay $500 a copy.
Wow.
I can't afford one.
Well, we need to have that movie on the screen. So I hope that screenplay gets around to the right people in Hollywood, because we really need to have this story up and throughout the country. I
think that would be a good sequel. Definitely a follow-up movie to the Elvis movie, the big one we saw.
Absolutely.
And I think it would be there's material there to do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's lots of material there. And I know they're working on an Elvis concert movie, from what I understand from a lot of the outtakes. I've heard that's in the works. So, but this would be a great movie to show the real Elvis back in the day when he first started.
We gotta find him. We gotta bring him back.
Absolutely.
For the girls, if nothing else.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Kay Wheeler, thank you so much for joining me on Celebrity Spotlight. I really appreciate your time, and it's been an honor to talk to you. So many great stories.
Well, thank you. There's nothing like an Elvis moment. It just makes you feel like you're 17 all over again.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, before you go, can you do a quick liner for the show? Say, hi, this is Kay Wheeler, Elvis's first fan club president. You're listening to Jimmy Deal on Celebrity Spotlight.
Okay.
I know you like radio.
Right. Hello, this is Kay Wheeler. I was the original National Elvis Presley Fan Club president, and I'm speaking with Jimmy Deal today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kay. I really appreciate your time, and please come back on the show. And if that movie gets made, I definitely want to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, Shield number one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kay Wheeler. I really appreciate your time.
Bye, Jimmy.
Take care. Great talking with you.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. Wow, it's Kay Wheeler. Great stories. The real Elvis back in the day. Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching Celebrity Spotlight tonight. I really appreciate it. Producer Cindy, I believe, was out there tonight, and she had some people that I think Tom Payton was out there. She just gave me a list of people who are watching. Sharon Priscilla was out there watching. My mom in Canarsie, Millie, and of course, tomorrow's her birthday, so happy birthday, Mom. We're excited about that. Also, who else is out there? We also have Tom in Gravesend. Tom Payton, my good friend, is out there. Tom, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you always participating in all these wonderful Celebrity Spotlight shows. Also coming up on Celebrity Spotlight next week, we have Rodney Allen Rippey. Of course, he did those legendary Jack in the Box commercials. Remember those Jack in the Box commercials back in the days in the 70s? So he's going to be here. He's got a lot more new stuff going on in his career these days, so he'll tell us all about that. That's coming up on Monday. Then we have actress Louise Soros. She was on the old Star Trek, and she was in many soap operas, so we're getting ready to talk to her. That's going to be next Thursday, so I'm so excited to talk to Louise next week. That's going to be fantastic. Also, we have Elaine Ballas is going to be on the show. My good friend from Hollywood. She's a Hollywood actress. She's going to tell us all the stuff that's going on out there at in Hollywood, at the Hollywood Museum and Hollywood Boulevard, and her wonderful career. Singer Roy Hamilton Jr. will be here. Also, he's of course, doing a show in Las Vegas, and his father was Roy Hamilton. Elvis was a big fan of his dad. His father had songs like You'll Never Walk Alone, so many great songs. So I'm excited to talk to Roy Hamilton Jr. and also the CEO of Game Changer Entertainment out there in Hollywood, Carrie Calvin. My buddy's going to be here. He's going to tell us all about all he has going on in Hollywood. He is definitely a game changer in Hollywood. He has a clothesline. He produces music. He has a lot going on, so we'll find out all about that. Dean Butler from Little House on the Prairie will be here. My friend Lee Newton, country artist. She's fantastic. She will be here on the show. Also, Sandy Hall, who is a Heart tribute artist. She's going to be on the show. So many great people on the show here at Celebrity Spotlight, and I appreciate you for listening every single week. I do appreciate it. I hope you guys had a great day. For all my Catholic friends out there, today was the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima, so I hope you enjoyed the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima, and I hope everybody has a great week and a great weekend, and I will catch you here again on Monday, and that's going to be with Rodney Allen Ripia. Again, thank you, producer Cindy out there in Lake Ronkonkoma. Thank you so much. And all my friends out there listening, and all you wonderful people. Beryl, I know, listens to the show, and her dad, Michael, up there in Virginia. So many great people. Thank you so much. And everybody, I appreciate it. And we will catch you on Monday. Bye-bye. Have a great night.